All right, the election of 1896 and then President McKinley's administration. This is really going to be about the battle of the standards. In other words, gold standard versus the gold and silver standard. It's going to really focus heavily on monetary policy. And we're going to start to see some new voting patterns emerge, and the Republicans are going to emerge out of the election of 1896 as the dominant party. And we're going to see our nation's policies start to change to match the rest of the modern world. In 1896, farmers everywhere in America, just about, are disgruntled. They are upset. In 1896, there's high unemployment and crop prices are really low. And so a lot of farmers are starting to listen to the people we call Silverites. Silverites are the people calling for free and independent coinage of silver. They wanted 16 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold. They want the U.S. government to mint coin money with all the silver that's offered to them. So if you're a miner and you have silver, the federal government would have to buy it if they adopt this policy. Independent coinage of silver means that we're going to use silver to back some of our money, some of our paper money, regardless of what other countries were doing. So the Silverites are calling for the free and independent coinage of silver. In other words, they want American money backed by gold and silver, as opposed to just gold. And this is because of the quantity theory of money, which was a popular idea at the time. And the belief went that you could stimulate the economy and prevent a recession by increasing the money supply. So by backing our money with gold and coining, or with gold and silver, and coining silver coins, it's going to lead to more money and more business, and farm prices are going to go up. Eventually, silver is going to become a symbol. It's going to become a symbol of the United States as an independent nation, because a lot of the world powers were just on the gold standard. But if we were to begin using silver, or use silver more, it would really show our independence. And it also shows that the government values rural values, the common man, and not just the urban rich. The silver movement expanded as a result of pro-silver literature, explaining some of the ideas we just talked about. And the most popular is this one by William H. Harvey, and it's called Coin's Financial School. So how do the two parties feel about this idea? Well, on the Republican side, Ohio's William McKinley wins the Republican nomination, in part to the man you see there in the smaller picture, his campaign manager, Marcus Hanna, who helped him gain national support. And McKinley and the Republicans back the gold standard. They believe that the United States, like Britain and France and other world powers, the United States should back its money with gold and only gold. The Democratic Party is divided. The Democratic Party is controlled by Southern politicians. It is much more of a sectional party than the National Republican Party. And the party is really split over the silver issue. They have the president in office, Grover Cleveland, and he was opposed to using silver. He likes the gold standard. But 20 different state Democratic platforms supported using silver. So when the Democrats convene for their national nominating convention, there's no clear frontrunner for president, and there are multiple speeches given and multiple votes taken as to who's going to be the Democrats' nominee. And at the convention, a young politician from South Dakota by the name of William Jennings Bryan delivered what's called the Cross of Gold speech. And we'll take a look at it in class. But what it does is he publicly supports bimetalism, or using gold and silver. He supports silver, and he wins the nomination. And as a result, the Democratic Party, the National Democratic Party, supports silver. The Populists had long supported silver. The Populists support William Jennings Bryan. But the Populists don't want to split the Silverite vote. They don't want some people that are Silverites voting for a populist president and some of them voting for Bryan. So what they do is they support William Jennings Bryan. They publicly support him, and they say, hey, if you're a populist, vote for the Democratic candidate William Jennings Bryan, which might have helped Bryan a little bit, but it definitely kills the Populist Party. In fact, it probably didn't win William Jennings Bryan many votes anyway. Most populists probably would have voted for him without the party's support. It might have even hurt him in the election, because what it does is lets the Republican Party scare away voters by saying, hey, you're not going to vote for that other guy. He's a radical populist. William Jennings Bryan from South Dakota has very little support from the Eastern Democratic press. He knows he's not going to get the coverage he needs to win this election. So he goes on what's our first really modern national speaking campaign. He hits 27 different states. He gives over 600 speeches. He talks to approximately 3 million voters with the goal of educating and persuading those people to vote for him. And his message is clear. He tells voters everywhere, farms are just as important as factories, and rural and religious values are more important than this radically changing urban lifestyle. And he wants to create opportunity for all Americans. And William Jennings Bryan is an amazing speaker. And when William McKinley is asked if he would be going on a speaking tour or even debating against William Jennings Bryan, here was his response. So McKinley starts with what's called the front porch campaign, where he says he's going to give a speech from his front porch in Canton, Ohio, and literally thousands of people came by railroad to hear him speak. Also, he gets large amounts of newspaper reporters out to cover his speeches, and as a result, he's able to reach just as many voters as William Jennings Bryan. And McKinley's message is he wants to protect the U.S. economy. Silver would be bad for the economy, in his opinion. He wants to advance industrial and urban society in America. McKinley's message has a much stronger appeal with labor, with immigrants, with farmers who were not struggling, well-off farmers, big farmers. It has a real appeal to businessmen and the middle class. The election of 1896 includes one of the highest voter turnouts in our nation's history, and William McKinley wins mainly by winning New England, winning the Northeast, and winning the Midwest. And he really dominated in the cities across the nation. We can see lots of counties in blue, but most of those are rural counties. McKinley wins the election of 1896. So the Populist Party is dead and over after 1896, but some of their original goals, like a graduated income tax, which will be instituted with the 16th Amendment, like crop loans for farmers, like the Australian or secret ballot, and the direct election of senators, which will come with the 17th Amendment, these will all eventually become part of our nation's government. The election of 1896 and McKinley's taking office in 1897 kicks off more than 3 decades of Republican dominance. Only one Democrat was elected in that time, Woodrow Wilson, and that was because the Republican Party was split for that election. And as McKinley is taking office, the economy is already improving. The stock market is rising, factory production increases, and farms produce more, and farmers really start to prosper. We also have gold discovered in Alaska and Australia, and that combined with new mining techniques increases the global gold supply and inflates currency, which was the goal of the Silverites. Same thing happened, different method. And McKinley is sometimes called our first truly modern president because he is an activist president. He sets the policies of his administration by speaking to the press and saying what he wants to do. He also maintains very strong ties with Congress, where he worked before. And he's also going to travel the nation and really use the press to educate the public about what they're doing. One notable thing that happens in his first year in office is the Dingley Tariff is passed in 1897. This is the highest tariff in U.S. history. And it also raises some questions like, is a tariff still needed for American industry? From 1860 until 1890, the Republican Party had used the tariff to promote industrial growth, to protect infant industries. But by the turn of the century, growth has already occurred. Really, what our economy needs by 1900 is regulation. The problem is that our government needs money, and the tariff is how our government gets money. This is before the federal income tax was created. In 1900, while McKinley is in office, Congress passes the Gold Standard Act, which declares that gold will be the only standard of U.S. currency, and this officially ends the debate on silver. In 1900, William McKinley wins re-election, defeating William Jennings Bryan again, even more overwhelmingly than before. This has to do with the economy doing well and winning the Spanish-American War. But McKinley is assassinated in 1901, and Teddy Roosevelt takes over, kicking off the Progressive Era, which we'll study with our next unit. And don't forget to remind me to start class tomorrow with the discussion of The Wizard of Oz.